Unwanted harassment, unpaid labor, and cooking endangered species? Any of these should be enough to shut down a restaurant, no matter how famous it or its chef may be. But you'd be surprised.
At most restaurants, having 3 customers suffer heart attacks after eating at the establishment would be a source of great concern and shame.
If you can't tell from the name, Heart Attack Grill isn't most restaurants. In fact, it's just what it sounds like. A restaurant serving excessive portions that could send you to the hospital. It was opened in 2005 by John Basso, who settled on the hospital theme. Customers are referred to as patients, the food is described with medical jargon, and there's wheelchair service afterward for those who successfully tackle the most caloric burger in the world.
This is a place where if you weigh over 350 pounds, you eat completely free.
There's little talk about the quality of food here. Heart Attack Grill is about gluttony. The burgers are cooked well done and every item on the menu is amped to the max. That means fries cooked in lard and all butterfat milkshakes. Heart Attack Grill was called out for its female servers dressed like naughty nurses, but the most scandalous headlines relate to 575-pound Blair Rivers, the restaurant spokesperson, who died at age 29. In 2012, a customer had a heart attack while eating at the restaurant, and the staff and the customers thought it was a stunt. More scandals and restaurant-related deaths followed, but nothing convinced Basso to reconsider his branding.
Are you filming? Are you filming?
Nusr-Et Goche, best known for his Instagram persona Salt Bae, became an internet sensation in 2017 following a viral video in which he dramatically sprinkled salt over a steak.
Since then, the butcher has taken advantage of the spotlight, posting videos of himself slapping, stroking, and dancing with meat.
The video turned him into a global star, which resulted in a chain of international restaurants. Publicly, Goche played the role of successful, highly memey cosmopolitan restaurateur, but former employees told a different, much darker story. Most complaints revolve around Goche's management style, which was described as aggressive and marked by frivolous decision-making. One pattern of behavior alleged was the frequent threat of instant termination. Insider published an extensive list of lawsuits, reports by female staff about sexist treatment that wasn't on par with male staff members, and discrimination based on nationality. The reports also suggest that management maintained the image of luxury and glamour, but that it was just a facade. The controversies continue to stack up, and although many of Goche's restaurants are still open, it remains to be seen how sustainable his sudden internet-fueled business success will be in the face of the relentless flow of complaints.
If you're thinking about an idea that you can solve in your lifetime, you're thinking too small.
Blue Hill at Stone Barns is located on a former dairy farm 30 miles outside NYC. They serve a daily tasting menu featuring dishes that showcase locally sourced produce with no a la carte options. Blue Hill opened in 2004 and was generally well received by critics and the public. The reviews praised the philosophy, sustainable practices, ingenuity, and perfectly executed dishes, often described as a benchmark for fine dining in the US. But in 2022, a shocking 3-piece editorial on Eater savaged the reputation of the restaurant and its head chef and owner, Dan Barber. A former apprentice claimed he was molested by a manager and got no protection when he reported it. Eater spoke with almost 20 former employees who outed the revered culinary destination as a brigade with brutal hours and overwhelming pressure. Other allegations included unsustainable practices at odds with Blue Hill's public ideology, including the use of animal products in vegan and vegetarian options. They also talked about dangerous working conditions and sexism. Somehow, Blue Hill weathered the bad press, and in 2023, Michelin reaffirmed its 2-star status.
Do you eat every single part of the pig?
Yeah, you got
No parts left undone?
No.
Spotted Pig was once one of Manhattan's busiest restaurants. Opened in 2004 by Ken Friedman and April Bloomfield, this gastropub serving unpretentious dishes was awarded a Michelin star. And for a while, the Pig seemed to get everything right. But in 2017, both Friedman and Bloomfield faced serious accusations of harassment and more. That's when the New York Times published an article citing 10 female employees who accused Friedman of unrelenting sexual harassment, including inappropriate touching, kissing them in public, and sending inappropriate texts. Groping was reportedly standard at private parties in a third-floor area.
There was this known thing among the servers.
Don't stand too long next to Mario.
Celebrity chef Mario Batali was specifically mentioned as regularly harassing female staff. The victims claimed Bloomfield knew about the misconduct but did nothing about it. Following the article, the New York Attorney General opened an investigation, and in a January 2020 statement, they ruled that the restaurant maintained a hostile workplace where numerous female employees were subjected to severe and pervasive incidents of unwanted touching and unwelcomed sexual advances. Spotted Pig closed in 2020 just weeks after agreeing to a $240,000 settlement with the complainants. The women were also awarded 20% of the restaurant's profits for the next 10 years, so perhaps the closing was no coincidence. Friedman and Batali never recovered from the scandal, but Bloomfield resurfaced in 2023 to open a Brooklyn bistro called Sailor. The Hump was a Santa Monica restaurant specializing in sushi and other seafood. For a while, the establishment was praised for its fresh ingredients and the overall quality of the food. But in 2010, the producers of Oscar-winning documentary The Cove exposed the Hump for serving whale meat.
It was actually more exciting busting this restaurant than winning the Oscar.
In the U.S., whales are classified as an endangered species, and its trade and consumption are strictly forbidden. In 2009, a group of activists filmed a barbaric Japanese dolphin hunt. Their investigation also led them to the U.S. coast and the Hump, where they discovered that the restaurant served whale meat in its omakase, a bespoke selection of dishes prepared by the sushi chef.
I asked him, I said, what is it? And he said, it's whale.
The restaurant faced federal charges and was fined $27,500 for the violation. Besides being illegal, serving whale meat is considered morally wrong. Unsurprisingly, the Hump closed soon after the allegations came to light. Lucky Lee's was a short-lived restaurant that opened in the affluent Greenwich Village of New York City in 2019. It was opened by Ariel Haspel, a certified health coach who promotes clean eating and wholesome food alternatives. Those all sound like good things, but Haspel got tons of bad press when she talked about her kind of weird take on the cuisine she chose to sell.
The restaurant, the brainchild of nutritionist Ariel Haspel, is being marketed as clean Chinese food.
Haspel happens to be a white woman, and while that shouldn't stop anyone from opening any kind of restaurant, the choice to call the place Lucky Lee's felt a little out of touch to many commentators. Couple that with the chopstick-style font, bamboo and jade decor, and the apparent attitude that other Chinese restaurants weren't doing things right, and you've got a recipe for controversy. When she attempted to explain her motives, she ended up making things worse. In a now-deleted Instagram post, Haspel claimed the driving force behind her idea was to serve Chinese food that wouldn't be oily, salty, or make people feel, quote, bloated and icky. Some found it offensive, some found it awkward, and the attention made it pretty much impossible for the restaurant to build an audience free of controversy. Despite attempts to course-correct, the restaurant closed in December 2019. The Toccoa Riverside restaurant in Blue Ridge, Georgia is a romantic riverfront restaurant serving classic American fare. The house special is rainbow trout. At first glance, nothing stands out as particularly controversial. The reviews are pretty decent, praising the food, hospitable staff, and cozy atmosphere. But if you do a little more research, you'll notice a series of negative comments, mostly focused on the restaurant's attitude toward children. A glance at the restaurant's menu immediately reveals the controversial clause reading "adult surcharge for adults unable to parent," followed by a triple dollar sign, implying that any bad behavior on the part of one's kids will lead to a hefty surcharge. No surprise, this practice has sparked a lot of controversy.
You rotten kids, you should be locked in cages!
One dissatisfied customer explained that their party, which included 11 children, was charged $50 because the kids were supposedly loud and unruly. And there are other complaints about upcharges, such as the additional cost for credit card payments added to the listed prices. Adding surcharges for unruly kids isn't illegal, but can be classified as rude and disrespectful. Then again, there are other customers who love the idea and take the time to encourage management to stick to their philosophy. All this was free press for the restaurant, but whether it's bad or good is yet to be seen.
Noma is the place where Rene Redzepi pretty much changed the whole world of gastronomy.
Copenhagen's Noma doesn't need much introduction. This revolutionary establishment is part of the classic culinary canon. It was awarded 3 Michelin stars and won a record 5 titles as the world's best restaurant. Noma is known for its perfectly orchestrated dining experience and for being a hub for training young creative talents. The founder, Rene Redzepi, is one of the pioneers of fine dining focused on local, foraged ingredients. Despite the superlatives, Noma hasn't managed to avoid controversy. It was criticized for relying on unpaid interns until Redzepi changed the practice in 2022. But the restaurant's biggest scandal was the shocking announcement that Noma would permanently close by the end of 2024. Redzepi claimed that keeping Noma alive was no longer sustainable. He claimed that a system in which a meal costs $500 can't function successfully, and also pay the staff a fair wage. This is especially worrying as Noma was a model for many fine dining establishments around the globe. The news hit like an avalanche, raising questions about the future of haute cuisine. How can other, less popular places survive if the most successful restaurant in the world can no longer afford to stick to sustainable practices? Well, it seems like they figured it out because Noma has accepted reservations throughout 2025. Willows Inn was a fine dining haven in the Pacific Northwest. The picturesque restaurant was located on remote Lummi Island, and the diners had to take a ferry to get there. Willows Inn offered a serene atmosphere, beautiful scenery, and a multi-course meal prepared by award-winning chef Blaine Wetzel. Foodies and professional chefs praised the restaurant, but the dream ended abruptly when the establishment was swamped with lawsuits. In 2017, it was announced that Willows Inn was levied $149,000 to compensate for the grossly underpaid internships, but they apparently didn't learn their lesson. In 2021, after a long legal battle, the restaurant had to settle and pay out $600,000 for breaking labor laws. The same year, the New York Times published allegations by more than 30 former employees claiming that Wetzel harassed, abused, and created a toxic work atmosphere built on a culture of fear. Female staff described blatant sexism and sexual harassment by male staff members, and the restaurant confirmed that guests were often misled about the origin of the ingredients. A class action lawsuit filed by 137 employees was eventually settled, with Willows Inn ordered to pay $1.37 million in damages. The restaurant closed for good in 2022. Xiongsen Bear and Tiger Village is a highly controversial animal park in Guilin, China. It covers a vast area and claims to focus on animal-related activities such as research and breeding, as well as public entertainment. It's home to numerous wild and endangered species, including tigers, black bears, lions, leopards, snakes, and monkeys. The park has long caused controversy for its animal shows. The reports often describe the horrible mistreatment of tigers who are poked, provoked, and tortured to force them to perform tricks. And if that isn't enough, there was a restaurant on site that was accused of serving tiger meat. In 2007, the Conference on International Trade in Endangered Species issued a statement confirming that Xiongsen featured tiger meat on its menu. All the negative publicity that followed forced the restaurant and an accompanying shop offering questionable products to close.